What up, guys? What up? What up? I am Lou. Guys, today this is going to be a part 4 for a multi-part series that we have. And I'm gonna be showing you on how to upload large files to SharePoint, and we're gonna do them in chunks, right? So I have another video where we talk about uploading files to SharePoint. That does does it all at once. It reads it all at once, and then of course uploads it. In this video, we're gonna review how do we do it in chunks, because you may be having files that are extremely large, 2 gigs, 5 gigs, whatever, right? So in those cases, you don't want to upload it all at once. You want to upload it in chunks. So we're gonna kind of walk through that process, what you need to do. But before we get started, guys, give me a like, give me a follow. Go ahead and hit that like button. Give me a follow as well, and appreciate it, guys. Let's get started. Alright, guys, so let me make this a bit bigger so we can see everything. So the first thing that we're gonna do to get started is we're gonna add that functionality to our we're pretty much gonna create a new function, and we're gonna add it to our Office 365 API section. And this function we are going to call let's see, we're gonna call it upload file in chunks, right? So upload file in chunks, it's going to be the name of this function, and this is going to take a file path. So slightly different. Instead of uploading the contents to this function, we actually need to provide the full path of the file, because by doing so it's going to I'll show you in a minute, but one of the methods that's part of the package, it's actually doing a local read. So again, it needs to be local. Just kind of keep that in mind. Folder name is another argument. Chunk size. I'm gonna call this chunk uploaded. So chunk uploaded is really going to be a function, and I'll explain on why we're doing this and the benefits of doing that if you want to do it that way. And then quargs, right, which is going to be optional as well. Again, we'll talk about that in a minute. So let me make this bigger. Let's see. So same as the other one, we're going to have our connect object, calling the os function. The next thing that we're gonna do is gonna be, again, same as the upload file. We're gonna bring this bad boy in. We're gonna bring this in as well. So let's go ahead and bring that down. Let's see. And then we're gonna similar but a little bit different, right? So we'll have a response as well. And this is gonna be target folder dot files dot create upload session. Again, instead of just uploading everything at once, we're creating a session so we can say connected, and we're uploading chunks. Pretty much what we're doing here. All right, so there are going to be some arguments inside this that we're going to pass in. So one is going to be source path, and this would be our file path, right? The next one is going to be chunk size, and of course this would be chunk size as well. Let's see, the next one, it will be called chunk uploaded, and then that would be chunk uploaded as well, because again, that's our argument over here, passing it over here. And then of course the final one would be some quargs, that we will pass in, which would be this guy if we provide that into our function or not. Again, we don't have to, but if we do, that's what it's going to be. So it'll be return response. So this is it, guys. This is all we have to do here, right? I'm going to explain in a few what this means. So ultimately, this we could pass in a function. So let's say if you want to record progress. Let's say you want to display. We're going to use an example. We're going to display progress. You get more creative, but in this case, we're going to pass in a function. Where the function is going to have some arguments. One argument would be file size. Well, that it's coming from the quarks. And the reason why I need file size because it needs to do the math of this is where I'm starting, this is where I'm at, and kind of just start printing out the results. So, but if you don't care about visually seeing the progress, it's here, but you don't have to use it. We just won't pass nothing in, right? So just kind of keep that in mind. We won't be passing nothing in. Either way, that's our function here. This is it, guys. That's all we have to do here for this function. So save. Now we're going to create a new file. And this new file, we're going to call this file upload file in chunks py. Okay. You know what? It should have been, let me call it files, because it's not just uploading one file. It's actually able to upload mini files. Cool. All right, so now that we have that, let's start bringing everything in, right? So some of the stuff that we're going to be bringing in, it's going to be similar to what we have done before. Like we're going to bring let's bring all of this in. Right? So that's going to get brought in. What else do we need? Just like this bottom piece, we're going to bring this in as well. Because we're going to need that as well. Trying to think. Are we gonna need? I think we need this too. Man, you know what? Might as well bring everything. I think we need everything, and we'll just make some tweaks as needed, right? Yeah. So let me go ahead and bring these two as well. And ultimately, what we'll probably end up doing here is just doing some small tweaks. Okay. So the root directory is fine. This is ultimately what folder do we want to upload SharePoint, like which folder is going to have the files in it, and that's the folder we're going to specify to upload all the files. So that's fine. That could stay as is. Second one is the SharePoint name. Same thing. That's fine. We need to provide a name on where it's going to get uploaded to. Third is going to be pattern name. That's fine. What I'm going to do here, though, I'm going to make this argument 4. And the reason why, because I'm going to add another argument that I feel it's a bit more important. So this would be args3. And this would be file chunk size. Yes, file chunk size. Yes, yep, that is right. And then this would be chunk size. And this would be index 3. And that's it, right? And then we have our file pattern name if we choose to have a pattern name of only specific file we want to upload, right? All right, so this is the only thing that we added from the other one. We added it to this one. Cool. So now let's make some small changes. For example, our get list, this is going to pretty much stay the same. We're not changing nothing here. This function will stay the same. Well, what is going to change a little bit would be this guy up here. Right, so what we're gonna do here is there's a few things that we're gonna change, like we're gonna add new arguments. One new argument that we're gonna add is gonna be SharePoint folder. And the reason why I'm doing this is I didn't do it initially, but to keep it more functional, where you know you can just take the code and maybe apply it in another manner. That's why I'm making the small tweak than previous. But either way, these are small changes that we're gonna make real quick. Chunk size and then keyword. Perfect. Right, so so now that we have that, this is still good because again we're going to be calling this function to get a list of all the files. Then we're going to iterate over, we're going to do keyword searches. All of that's fine. So one thing that we're going to add, and this is only going to be utilized if we want to record progress, right? So for example, one of the things that we're going to add is going to be file size, and this would be os pass dot get size, and then of course we're going to provide file 1, index 1. This is like the full root directory pass, so you'll be able to tell what the file size is for that, right? So that's kind of what this. So this we don't need. That's going to go away. Now that we have our file size, we will need to create a. I'm going to call it data. So this is going to be a dictionary. Inside here, we would have file size. Then we're going to provide file size in here. Okay. The other thing would be. So I think that's it. Now this we're going to replace. See how we're calling the upload file function? Well, we're not using that no more, right? Because we created a new function. So we're going to end up calling the new one that we created, which would be upload in chunks. All right. So it's still going to take a lot of the same arguments. Like the first argument would be file index 1, not 0, but 1. Because remember, when we uploaded a file, we were just providing the name, because we were providing the context of the data already. You know, we're reading it in this method down here, in this function, we're reading the data and then ultimately passing in just the context. Now in this case, the way the function works that's part of the Office 365, it actually wants the full directory pass. So you got to provide the full pass, you know, with the file name. So it is actually going to read the file and then start uploading. So that's why we're not providing the file name. We're actually providing the full root pass with file name so it could read it itself, right? So I mean, think of it, the difference is instead of this action happening here, it's actually part of the Office 365 where they're reading it and then it's sending out chunks at a time based on the size that we specify. All right, so that's the first argument. The second argument that we're passing in is going to be our SharePoint folder, which again, it's coming in from up here on top. The third argument would be chunk size, right? And then there's 2 more arguments that we could pass in. So the thing with the next 2 arguments, and this kind of goes back to this guy here, chunk uploaded equals none or quarks. If we provide a function, and kind of show you, I'll write an example. We could have it where that function will have a print statement. It will print out results like the progress, right? So let me kind of show you. Here's the thing. This would run the way I have it now would run, but it will give a no status information back, right? But it will work. It will run. But we're gonna do an example. We want to see the progress. So what I'm gonna do, and let me come down to the bottom, and I'm gonna go ahead and create a new function, and I'm gonna call this print. Let's call this. I don't want to call it print. Let's call it upload status or progress status. Let's call it progress status. And this is going to take 1 argument. I'm going to call it offset, and the second argument be file size. Okay. Now, ultimately, what it's going to do, that's all it's going to do. It's going to be a print statement. It's going to end up calling this print statement. And what we're going to do in here, let's call this uploaded. This would be index 0 because it's going to be the first value. Bytes from. Oops, I need to put this in the text. Yep, because that's what it is. And this would be index 1. And then this would be again, single quote for the text. and this would be percentage, so we can see the percentage here. Now after that, I'm going to do dot format, and then of course we're going to specify our values. So the first value will be offset, which is the first argument. Second value would be file size. Third value we would do a round, because we're going to do the math on it. It will be offset divided by file size, let's see, times 100. Then the second one would be 2 decimal places, pretty much. So there's our three, all of our values. So this function here that we have here, progress status. Now if I go back, I'm gonna add this in here as one of my arguments, right? See where it says chunk uploaded? That's gonna be pretty much a function that we pass in, right? On top of that, my quargs, which let me go ahead and do that. It will be quargs data, because it's, so this data, which is this dictionary that we have, it's going to pass this in here in this quargs argument. See how I have this file size key? Well, that's going to be passed into here under file size, right? And that's what's going to be populated. This offset value will get populated within the Office 365, but because I want to pass in a file size, I got to have a starting point. That's where I added another argument, which is called file size, and that is coming from this data. So it's a little bit confusing again. So if you're not familiar with it anyways, in Python, and then not just Python, other languages, but here in Python we have a function that actually accepts another function as an argument, which is number one. Number two, these two stars that we have here, characters. If I go back to my, see how we have they're called quargs, you know, that just kind of like the name. Pretty much it's, think of it as a dictionary that you could pass in as an argument, and we were specifying this as 2 stars, so it kind of makes it more dynamic. Like it's, think of it as variable keywords. Like it's not looking for a specific one, it's more of a variable. And in this case, because I'm passing in a function, this takes in a function. Again, kind of, it gets a little bit more confusing if you're not familiar with this. But this function, again, created upload session, has a another function inside of it where it's ultimately accepting this function, and then of course when it executes, if we're passing in these quargs to that function, and that's where the keywords do matter. And that's why this is file size, because one of the arguments here is file size. If I were to change this to file size total, then I got to change this to file size total, where that does matter, right? So again, that's a whole different video that I could go in more details, so don't get too confused. Hopefully they didn't confuse you too much anyways. But let me see, I think this is it, guys. This is it. So again, we're getting a file size for per file. From here, I'm adding it to this data dictionary, and then I'm passing this in as a quargs. This is my function, right, that I'm passing into the argument, which is all over here as well. So now that I have all of that, I think I'm done. So let's go ahead and run this. Right, so now let me go ahead and do Python upload in chunks. Again, my first argument is going to be the folder. So I have a folder in here. Where is it? Downloads, file. There it goes. Nope, that's not it. I mean, that is it, but that's not the file that I want to upload. I was testing this out. Let me get another file. So let me get. So again, the purpose here, I want to upload big files. I'm gonna get a smaller file because it's gonna take some time when you do bigger files. So you know, I don't want it to take too long. But it works the same, right? I tested it out on big files. It worked like a charm. So let me do this MP4 file. So let me grab this. Let me go to files folder that I have. Copy it in here. So I need to copy this directory path. So this is a folder that I want to iterate. Again, if I have many files, you're gonna scan all files and read all files and upload it. So there's only one, but you could put many files. The next thing will be my SharePoint. So in this case, it would be data 2022 calls. So again, if I go to my browser, here's my folder here, right? Data 2022 calls. My chunk size, I'm going to do, I'm gonna do 1028 times 100. So we'll do that. This will be our 102,800. 102,800. You don't have to do it that way, the way I did it. You could just do 100,000 or whatever number you want. That's fine, right? And then of course none. The reason why I'm putting none because I don't have any pattern that I'm looking for, right? So if you do have a pattern, like you just want to look for files that have the word sales in it, then of course type in the word sales. But in this case, it's gonna be none. So let's run it, guys. Hopefully no errors. Let me move this up. You'll notice my face is covering up the. And let's run it. Oh, what happened here? Upload file. What? Oh, my bad. Hold on. No, is that right? Oh, I'm missing arguments. Duh. See how we added these new arguments? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I need to add these arguments down here as well. So that was my mistake. So the next one would be chunk. So chunk needs to be in an integer. So keep in mind, even though when you look at it here, this looks like a number, right? I mean, it's not in double quotes or nothing like that. It looks like a number, but keep in mind, everything that gets passed in as arguments here is all text. So I have to convert it to an integer. And then the next one would be file name pattern. All right, so now that I passed all of those arguments in to this upload files function, now let's run it again. Ooh, what am I missing? All right, guys. All right, so figured out the issue. The issue was, if you look at my upload files function, this argument here, I passed it in twice. So I passed in the variable twice. This second position argument should have been SharePoint. I don't know why that. No, I don't know what I typed to make it populate that. I swear I had a SharePoint folder name, but that's what's causing the issue. And the reason why, that's why I was like, dude, it doesn't make sense. And then of course I added to my print statement. I saw it was none. So of course I was like, dude, it can't be none. I'm passing in that argument. So that's what it was, guys. So now let's test it out. Let's test it out and make sure that it works. So I'm gonna go ahead and run it now. Okay, now see we got progress. See how it's showing us the progress? So keep in mind, look at the text that we see here. This is based off of this. Again, what we did here, we passed in a function inside a function. And inside Office 365, there is a callable function in there, which is ultimately executing this function, but it's passing in the variables that it needs, like the parameters, which is why we're seeing the numbers change, right? Keeping, progress. What is my? I can't remember. So this is like a. There it goes. Here's our total file size: 31 megabytes file size. Now I think the chunks, I need to look at it. I think it was maybe at 100K. So, which is their small chunks. You could up that if you needed to. You can make it 1 megabytes chunks. So you could do like 500 kilobytes, the chunk size, or whatever it is, right? That's where you determine the chunk size. Play around with it, see what makes sense. I think in this case though, I want to say it was 100K, and that's kind of why you see the numbers jumping up by 100K each. And of course, it's taken a while because say 30 1 megabytes file. But nevertheless, you see the progress. You see it uploading. If I were to go to SharePoint now, you will see a file now in here. So again, it's still running. Once it finishes, then yeah, it's good, right? But again, at least this is a way to be able to upload files in the form of chunks. This comes in very beneficial when you're dealing with large files. Now this is not a large file, it's a 31 megabyte file. You could easily just use the other way, the upload file method, the example that I have over here, the upload files. You could just use this, and this will work fine. It would just upload it in one push, right? But this comes in handy when you have 2 gigabit files, 5 gigabit files, right? The list goes on. That's where you want to use this, and it will just upload everything in chunks, and it'll allow you to again automate larger files. Now you could tell me uploading in chunks. You could do smaller files as well. Like I'm uploading this file, 31 megabit file. So it's a file that's not crazy big. So you could use small or large file, doesn't matter. But again, I would say play around with the chunk size. I think in this example with 100K, 100,000 bytes, you could do 1 megabyte or whatever, right? It's up to you. So it's about to be done. It's getting there, almost there. We're about 85%, it seems like. Once it finishes, then we'll see it in SharePoint. So as this is running, let me kind of go back to my script. So as you could tell, inside this upload chunk files, I provided this progress status function, which is, again, it's down here below. That's if you want to see it. And then of course the data quarks, which is, again, it says a dictionary. And because I got to provide that file size, that initial file size, so you could do the math on it. If, and for example, I'm going to take a copy of this and then comment it out. If I don't care about progress, like I don't want to see it, I'm going to have a schedule running at midnight anyways, and I don't need to see it. There's no need for me to see nothing. Go ahead and remove it. Remove that from, remove the function, remove the data object, the dictionary object that we passed in. Just remove it, and just only pass in these 3 arguments: the file with the root pass, SharePoint folder, and the chunk size. That's it. If you do that, that would do the same thing that we just did right now, but without printing out the status. That's the difference. It doesn't print out the status. So now if I come back over here, let me hit refresh, click on it, and yeah, there's our video. See, our video got uploaded, have all of our details and so on, right? So again, if you want to, I'm going to keep both of these in here in the source code. So, whenever you see it, you could take a look at it, like if you were to download the source code. But nevertheless, executing this gets the job done, but without providing any status, like the way print status, the way I did down here below. If you want to see that, you want to visually see the progress, then that's where you would go ahead and add in your you would add these 2 arguments: the progress status, which is a function down below, then of course this data dictionary, which has our file size. So just kind of keep that in mind. Status without status, right? That's pretty much what it is. But that's it, guys. I mean, again, this would load in chunks and allow you to upload large files. Hopefully, guys, that this video was beneficial. Again, I got a request from one of the viewers. I've been getting more and more requests from viewers, so keep them coming, guys. Keep these requests coming. I can't promise I'm gonna get to every request, because now I'm starting to get more and more. And right now it's only me, right? I only could do so much, but I am trying to get to the video as much as I can. So hopefully, you put a request in, I'll get to it, and I'll make a video out of it. And again, hopefully it helps you out. Again, guys, thanks for watching the video. Hopefully this helps out. Give me a like, give me a follow as well. I appreciate it, and peace.